At the film school I went to, we started with what was called a bench project. Literally, the second day of film school, we were off to the races. We were divided into a team of 4 people with 2 hours to shoot a 1-minute movie each. So basically, one person was the director, one person DOP, another person DAC, and the fourth person was the actor. And then each session we sort of rotated. This exercise involved no sound and was just a way into learning and into getting to know each other.
So from there, we could finally move on to a sound-only exercise, which was also called a darkroom exercise, where we could only rely on dialogue and soundscape to create a movie and no images. Once that was done, we could finally combine sound and image, which is where we were given 2-minute scripts that we then had to direct. Only once we were done with that, we could then move on and start making our own original material, which is where we started directing 3-minute short films, then 5-minute short films, 10-minute short films, etc.
Whilst that was happening, we were also in class learning to direct, meaning blocking a scene, speaking with actors, dissecting a script. We were also learning about cinematography, sound recording, and of course, script writing. So that included story beats, dialogue writing, basic story structure, etc. Which brings me to another thing that film school taught me, which is handling many things at once. It's not the way that I prefer to do things, but now I know that I can. We were all on each other's sets, and we had to do a lot of things simultaneously, including location scouting, casting, rehearsals, other pre-production stuff, prepping for our own sets and other projects that we were on. When you're so often on set, you do happen to get a lot of practical experience and you learn, obviously. I acquired stamina because some of those sets are long, like 12 to 14 hours for some. Not all, but for some. I realized that you had to find ways to pace yourself, find little windows where you can rest or sit down for a bit. Then obviously another thing that I learned was to manage a team and the amount of communication that involved.
So this experience was obviously quite intense. You were either thinking about movies, talking about movies, learning about movies, or making movies. And whilst in some ways that was obviously amazing, it was an incredibly immersive experience, it was also a little bit pervasive. It started infiltrating literally every area of my life. So my suggestion would be to invest in other areas of your life, like make it a point so that you find a balance, but also when you do invest in other experiences and stuff, you actually have things to talk about, have things to nourish your creativity. So it's on top of that, you know. And then, finally set some boundaries. Try and figure out where your boundaries are, what you can do with them. Like, make sure that you do have boundaries for yourself so that filmmaking doesn't completely take over your life. Or more than it already does, or probably will if you do end up going to film school.
The thing about sharing space with people for such a prolonged time is that you do develop quite a bit of intimacy. In our case, all of the students were in a foreign country, so we knew each other and that was it. This meant that we would see each other in class, on sets, and then would often hang out with each other after that. Like, we would see each other a lot and in all kinds of states, from ugly crying to unhinged to smiling. I love these people I met. I miss them. On top of that, when you're surrounded by creatives, you learn from the way that they do things, you get inspired and you support each other, which means that your creativity gets fast tracked. Then there's also, of course, the fun elements of being surrounded by people who love the same thing and are making movies together, like the shared hysteria around the editing room when you're all losing your minds a little bit. But on the flip side, I think it can also develop into a bit of a bubble if you're not careful.
So, movie making is very much a people business. So it's incredibly important for you to build trust and to build connection with the people that you collaborate with, whatever kind of project you're on. And on a more professional level, it's really important to look out for the dynamics on set. So to look out for the relationship between, for example, the DOP and the director or the AD and the producer, stuff like that, because that kind of thing will really impact the set. The mood on the set, the way the set is run, just, yeah, it's really important to keep an eye out for that.
I did also want to briefly mention shoot protocol. There were a lot of things that we were missing or hadn't thought through. We were kind of thrown into the deep end, which is necessary sometimes, but it meant that there were definitely things that we slowly learned to put into place to make sure that there was respect and understanding on set. A set is a pretty high stress situation, time is of the essence, things go wrong, people get tired. You need to find ways to efficiently deal with miscommunication and solving conflict. This is something that I'm very much still learning how to deal with. So if anyone in the comments has suggestions or experience, please feel free to share. Bye bye.